The Department of Homeland Security has a whistleblower who made an official complaint that the head of the DHS, Chad Wolf, basically told him to stop doing reporting and research on a Russian national security threat because it, quote, made President Trump look bad. Here are some of the details. The DHS official, Brian Murphy, made the accusation in a formal whistleblower complaint filed Tuesday with the department's inspector general. Murphy ran the Office of Intelligence and Analysis at DHS until the end of July when he was demoted to a lesser management job. Murphy says the acting secretary of DHS, Chad Wolf, told him twice, once in May and again in July, to withhold reporting on potential Russian threats to the election because it cast the president in a bad light. Murphy says he was also told to emphasize potential threats from China and Iran because that fits Trump's agenda. Murphy says Wolf told him these instructions came from the White House National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien. On July 8th, Murphy said in the complaint, acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf told him that an intelligence notification regarding Russian disinformation efforts should be held because it was unflattering to Trump, who has long derided the Kremlin's interference as a hoax that was concocted by his opponents to delegitimize his victory in 2016. Murphy objected to Wolf's instruction, stating that it was improper to hold a vetted intelligence product for reasons of political embarrassment, according to a copy of his whistleblower complaint that was obtained by the Washington Post. In the 22-page complaint, Murphy says there were multiple meetings this summer about downplaying the domestic threat posed by white supremacists and focusing more on militant leftist movements like Antifa. According to the document, Wolf and his deputy, Ken Cucciolini, told Murphy to modify intelligence assessments to ensure they matched up with public comments by President Trump. Murphy says he declined to do so. In a statement, Murphy's lawyer, Mark Zaid, said his client followed proper lawful whistleblower rules in reporting serious allegations of misconduct against DHS leadership. We flatly deny that there is any truth to the merits of Mr. Murphy's claim, said DHS spokesperson Alexei Wolternist. The Homeland Security chief is focused on thwarting election interference from any foreign powers and attacks from any extremist group. That is patently false. There have been multiple reports about the Department of Homeland Security completely ignoring the large threat of white supremacist violence, which is Antifa is not even an organization. It's not even an organization, and there hasn't been a death or a terrorist attack caused by Antifa in 25 years of recording this. It's been long documented, but when it comes back to Chad Wolf and the Department of Homeland Security here, this seems like a coordinated effort because when you look at the Republicans' new bill that was proposed by Mitch McConnell, the skinny bill that everyone's talking about, the coronavirus relief package, it doesn't have any money for election integrity either. So they basically want to muddy the waters so much that Trump can claim victory even under dubious circumstances. And just to point out Chad Wolf's specific hypocrisy, he was talking about Kamala Harris and what she would be as vice president and why he fears that she would not be good because she would selectively enforce certain laws, which is exactly what it seems like Chad Wolf is doing.
You're saying that Senator Harris as vice president would be a security risk.
I did not say that. What I did say is I would be concerned about their priorities. I'd be concerned about their selective enforcement of certain laws and requirements that DHS has to administer on a daily basis.
Seems like conservative projection, which is a familiar phenomenon, often exhibited by Trump himself. What do you think, Michael?
I mean, what you fill the offices with your acolytes, and nobody does it better than Donald Trump, from his family members to people that just march in lockstep with him. I think what you have with Chad Wolf, and most especially with Ken Cuccinelli, who, as the former Attorney General in Virginia, was somebody who really tried to crack down on voting rights in that state, and so you are trying to keep the voices of dissent away, whether at the ballot box or within the organization. My macro prediction about this is that the Department of Homeland Security, should the Democrats win the Senate, the House, and the White House, I think there's going to be a serious conversation about disbanding that department, because I think that as time has gone on, it was created in the wake of 9/11. As time has gone on, it has had too much politics in it to hold its name up of Homeland Security. It's not about politics with Homeland Security. It's about protecting the country. And these guys on this mission are protecting the president. They're not protecting the country. I think a lot of smart people are starting to see this on both sides, because a lot of Republicans think it's government waste in the first place. But now a lot of Democrats are seen to see what a political tool it is for the president. But when they get power, maybe they'll want to use it again as well.
Well, I mean, I think it's a part of trying to dismantle some of these institutions that have gotten entirely out of hand after 9/11, after the Patriot Act. DHS is enormously corrupt and authoritarian. We saw that Trump deployed unmarked DHS troops to basically quell the protests, but really just instigate it further in the wake of the killing of George Floyd and the subsequent protests. But also, I think the broader conversation is about ICE as well, immigration and customs enforcement. Both are policey, and they have way too much leeway and power and not very much oversight, which is terrifying. And I think that the Democrats could focus their efforts a little bit more on getting rid of those institutions. I believe in abolishing ICE, although I know Biden's not going to run on that. And at the very least, scaling some of these things back and reallocating resources to other things like education and healthcare, et cetera.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get the abolition of ICE. I think that I
can dream, Michael. I can dream.
You can dream, but I do think you get the abolition of the Department of Homeland Security, and I don't think that's as much of a pipe dream, because I think that splitting it up and taking some of those operations and putting them back in the Defense Department and the Treasury Department, I think is something that people would look at as being sound policy, and would also get the behemoth of government out of so many of these things that affect so many people directly. But we're getting away, or I took us away from this whole whistleblower idea, and the fact that a whistleblower within DHS is not being heard because acting secretary, this is not the Secretary of Homeland Security. So we always have to put the acting in front of Chad Wolf, because he has not had the same approval process that other secretaries and cabinet level positions have had, that he is overlooking and putting his political imprint on something. And now that it's come to light, I think that there will be conversations about this in the downfall of DHS, but also in the way that the next administration will look at whistleblowers and maybe embrace what it is that they're trying to get done.
Certainly, I mean, well, I would argue that the Obama administration didn't treat whistleblowers particularly well. So, sorry.
No. I'm saying they absolutely didn't. I would say that they didn't do that. But I think these lessons of what whistleblowers are doing now, and in a department that is coming under fire, I would say the Obama administration was terrible. Look, I don't think anyone's ever been good to whistleblowers. It's a thankless job being a whistleblower. You're a hero for doing it, but it very, very rarely works, and it's never embraced by power, because it usually is something that is trying to cripple power in some way, and it's a shame, but there have to be protections that are used positively. But because there was so much whistleblowing from this administration, from people in the administration to underlings in this administration, I think that maybe people are going to take another look at it. It's certainly going to be more positive under a Biden-Harris administration, I would think, than it is under a Trump-Pence administration, where there are these elements of sort of authoritarianism which are built into the way they govern.
Yeah, I would agree. Just in terms of the proportional, it's going to be like night and day, I would say, in terms of many aspects.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.